You ever look at your sweet, cuddly parrot and just wonder, where did my angel go? And who is this screaming, biting little monster that's taken its place? Well, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. This sudden flip is one of the most common and honestly most confusing things we deal with as parrot owners. So let's get into it and figure out what is really going on.
This pretty much sums it up, right? Every single year, countless parrot owners go through this exact same thing. One minute, you've got this perfect little companion, and the next, it feels like you're living with a tiny feathered volcano. But here's the good news. You're not alone, and this is absolutely something you can manage.
So here's our game plan. We're going to break down why your sweet bird might be acting like a little monster. We'll get into what spring fever actually means for a parrot, then we'll give you a whole toolkit of strategies you can use, talk about the amazing power of foraging, and finally, cover the really important red flags for when it's time to call the vet.
Okay, first things first, and this is probably the most important part. We have to shift our mindset. This is not about your bird suddenly deciding to be bad or malicious. What you're seeing are powerful, deeply ingrained instincts. It's just nature doing its thing, and it has absolutely nothing to do with you personally.
So what flips that hormonal switch? Well, it's all about cues from their environment that just scream, it's breeding season. Longer days are a huge one, right? But get this, our central heating can mimic the warmth of spring. A diet full of rich, high-calorie foods tells them there's plenty to feed a family. Even how you pet them can send the wrong signal, or letting them have access to dark, cozy spots, which to them looks like a perfect nursery.
So when we say hormonal behavior, what are we really talking about? Well, it's a whole cluster of actions. That screaming? It's not just noise. It's often a super loud contact call to a mate. The biting? That's them defending their territory, or even you, their perceived mate. You might see them trying to shred paper for a nest, regurgitation for you, which is super gross to us, but a sign of affection for them, or even plucking feathers from specific areas.
And I'm going to say it again because it's that important. Your bird is not being bad. They aren't trying to make you angry. They're just responding to these incredibly powerful biological signals. Seriously, just shifting your perspective from my bird is being a jerk to my bird is just being a bird is half the battle.
All right, so now that we get the why, let's dive into the how. We're going to build your very own toolkit, filled with practical, real-world strategies you can start using right away to help manage this hormonal storm.
And here's where we have to get a little honest with ourselves. It's a tough question, but are you accidentally sending your bird all the wrong signals? So many of the things we do, with the best intentions, can be major hormonal triggers. So let's take a look and see what we can do about it.
First up, light and sleep. This is probably the single most powerful tool you have. You need to give your bird 12 to 14 hours of complete quiet darkness every single night. This mimics the shorter days of winter, which tells their body, hey, it's time to rest, not time to make babies. And just throwing a blanket over the cage in a noisy living room isn't going to cut it. It needs to be truly dark and quiet.
Okay, this one is huge. How you touch your bird matters a lot. Think of it this way. Petting their head, neck, and feet, that's like a friendly handshake. It's social grooming. But touching them anywhere on their back, under their wings, or near their tail, that's not a friendly back scratch to them. That's a marriage proposal. You have to stick to the safe zones, head, neck, and feet only.
Next, it's time to become a nesty detective. To a hormonal parrot, your house is full of perfect nesting spots. So, time to get rid of those fuzzy sleep huts. Block off access to dark spots like behind the couch or in cupboards. And here's a pro tip. Rearrange the toys and perches in their cage often. If their environment is always changing a little, it doesn't feel like a secure, permanent place to raise a family.
And of course, we gotta talk about food. Serving warm, soft, or mushy foods can actually feel like regurgitated food from a maid. And lots of high-fat, high-calorie stuff like nuts and seeds basically signals that it's a time of abundance, perfect for feeding chicks. So we want to cut way back on those and really focus on a good, balanced pellet diet with lots of fresh veggies. So everything we've talked about so far is sort of like playing defense, right? Managing the triggers. But what if we could play offense? The best way to deal with all that pent-up energy is to give them a healthy outlet for it.
And that brings us to this really cool concept called contra-freeloading. It sounds super scientific, but all it means is that a lot of animals, parrots included, would actually rather work for their food than get it for free out of a bowl. And why is that? Because it taps into their natural instinct to forage, to solve problems, and to feel like they've accomplished something.
So how do you get them started? You don't just throw a complicated puzzle toy at them. You use a foraging ladder. You start super easy,
Like put some food in a little cup with a piece of paper on top. Once they master that, you make it a little harder, like wrapping a treat in paper. You slowly build up the difficulty. The goal is to challenge their brain, not to frustrate them.
And what this all does is redirect all that intense hormonal energy into something positive. Instead of screaming or biting because they're bored and frustrated, your parrot is busy thinking, shredding, and pulling things apart to get their food. A busy beak and a busy brain makes for a much calmer and happier bird. It's a total game changer.
Okay, now we need to shift gears and talk about something really serious. While most hormonal behavior can be managed at home with the things we've discussed, there are definitely times when it crosses the line into a medical issue. And it is absolutely critical that you know what those red flags are.
For female birds in particular, chronic egg laying is incredibly dangerous. It just drains their bodies of calcium and other nutrients, which can lead to broken bones. But even worse, it can cause life-threatening emergencies like egg binding, which is when an egg literally gets stuck. These are not wait-and-see problems. They are get-to-the-vet-now emergencies.
Now, if you've done everything right, you're managing the light, the diet, the environment, and your bird is still having intense hormonal issues or keeps laying eggs, please do not give up hope. There are medical options. Your avian vet can talk to you about things like hormone injections or implants that can help shut down that hormonal cycle and give your bird's body a much-needed break.
I know this can all feel really overwhelming, but please remember, this is a season. It will pass. With patience, with consistent management, and with a real respect for their wild nature, you can absolutely get through this. And you know what? Understanding them on this deeper level can actually make your bond even stronger on the other side.
And that really brings us to the final thought. It is so easy to forget that our parrots are not just tiny humans in feather suits. They are wild, incredibly intelligent animals with instincts that go back thousands of years. So the question I want to leave you with is this. How can you shift your thinking to not just manage their nature, but to truly understand it, respect it, and in doing so, deepen the incredible bond that you share?